Everybody, and welcome to our last lesson in our argumentative writing unit. In this lesson, we are going to be talking about three different things. We are going to talk about how to craft a title for your essay. We're going to talk about how to avoid plagiarism with our MLA citations. And we're going to talk about transitions, how to make our essay flow effectively and make it sound very clear and comprehensive to our reader. So let's go ahead and dive right in with something that is a little bit fun, how to write a title. A lot of people get stuck on how to write a title for their essay. They think, it has to be fun and engaging and capture my reader, but I also want to make sure that I'm showing my perspective. And so we're going to think about ways that we can kind of ground your reader in your argument at the very beginning of your essay, because most people will look at the title first. So let's go back to the basics. What should my title be? Your title has three important jobs. The first thing is that it should make your audience want to read your essay. It should be engaging in some way. This is where you get to do some creative writing or think creatively about how you could engage your reader with what you're writing about. But we don't want to stray too far into the creative side of things, and we also want to make sure that the topic of our essay is being clearly communicated in our title as well. So it should be creative, but also making sure that we're grounding our reader in what our topic is. And last but not least, it should show what our point of view or perspective will be on our topic. So yes, we're communicating what the argument is, but then you should also provide a hint about where your argument is going to go. Think of your essay kind of like a roadmap. And at the very beginning, your title is your first guidepost to show your reader which direction you're taking. Are you going left or are you going right? Right? So we want to make sure that our title does all three of these things. So let's kind of assess this a little bit. Let's say we have a title like Horrible Behavior. So a title like this might be interesting, but it's not really giving the reader a clear sense of what the essay is going to be about. And if it's not clear, if you are criticizing horrible behavior or celebrating it, your reader might get a little bit lost in that initial signpost, right? But then also a title like School is Important is a bit more clear, and it makes your point of view clear, but it could be a little bit more interesting, right? That's kind of a little basic and boring. School is important. Okay, yeah, and, right? The most effective titles are going to do all three of the things I just said. They are going to make your audience want to read your essay because it's engaging. They are going to communicate the topic of your essay and your point of view on that topic. So let's think now about how you can style your title. And you guys know I love to give you some sentence stems or examples for you to use in your own writing. So we're going to take a look at some one-part titles that you could use and some two-part titles that you could use. So let's start first with a question title. This one is relatively simple to craft because you can just take your topic and your stance on it and phrase it into a question. For example, could wiping out grades improve learning? A statement is a very clear, definable way for you to present your topic and your stance on that topic, but you do have to make sure to try and make it engaging if you can. So this one here, it's time for grades to go, kind of hits all 3 points. Then we have the case for. This is a really good one if you're fully stuck on how to craft your title and you literally don't know what to say. You can use a case for example, the case for banning books. I don't know if anyone in this class is arguing that, but if you were, you could craft a case for one just like this. Or you could do a why title. So a why title is kind of similar to a question and a statement in a way, kind of morphs those two things together. For example, why grades need to be abolished. We have our stance and we have our topic or our argument in all of these. Now let's look at some two-part titles. You could put your topic first and then a colon and then a question, which is from our one-part title. So for example, grades, that's our topic, colon, should they be abolished? Question. You could do a topic, colon, statement. Grades, colon, it's time for them to go. Or you could do a creative phrase and then another one-part title. So for example, a radical idea, why grades need to be abolished. Or quality, not quantity, the case for throwing out grades. Now let's make sure that we know how to properly format our title. So when you write your title, you need to make sure to capitalize almost every word of it. So here are the rules for a title. You always want to capitalize the first and last word of your title no matter what. If you're doing a two-part title, also capitalize the first word of the second part. So whatever comes after that colon. You also want to make sure to capitalize all other words except for short articles like a, and the. Conjunctions are fanboys, right? And short prepositions. You can see the list right here. Last thing is you want to make sure to capitalize short verbs such as be, am, is, and was, all of those linking verbs. So even though they're short and they're fewer letters, right? Because they're verbs and they're not connecting words like the ones above, they also get capitalized. Let's move on to my favorite topic, how to avoid plagiarism. The naughty, naughty word plagiarism. Here we go. There are two ways for us to avoid plagiarism in our writing. The first thing that we can do is include a works cited list. So a works cited list is like a bibliography. It's a list of the sources you used when you were writing your essay. It's often an extra page that is added to the end of your essay, and it has the title at the top, works cited, which is always right in the middle of the page. So let's take a look here at this example. You can see that our works cited is here right in the middle. It's always called works cited, not sources used or sources cited. It's works cited. And then we include our sources in alphabetical order. So we started here with Amanda Adams, and then we moved down to Barney Barnes, which these are wonderful names. I wish this was my name. Yeah, so you start with your alphabetical order here and move down further. And then also another way for us to avoid plagiarism is to do in-text citations, which I know we've been talking about a lot in class, but I just want to review what the structure of this should look like. So as you can see in my example here, we have someone who cited a two-person piece, right? Someone named Daft and then someone named Parola Merlot also wrote this piece here. So you want to make sure to include the author's last name and the page number as well. And this looks a little bit different than what I want you to do, but the kind of the structure, like the way that they pulled it into their essay is why I included the screenshot here. So even if you're summarizing or paraphrasing and not including a direct quote, if you're taking any information from a source, if you read something online that somehow is related to or informed even like your background knowledge on a topic, you need to cite that or else it can be considered plagiarism. When you use outside sources to support your ideas in any way, shape, or form, you need to give them credit. And if you don't, that is considered plagiarizing, which is basically stealing someone's ideas and pretending that you or that they are your own. So this is the way that we can cite sources. So if you are citing a book, which I'm not sure that many of you are, this is what the structure of that would look like. And what's lovely is that in this day and age, you have so many wonderful online resources to help you cite, versus when I was a kid, I had to input all of this stuff manually. So a great way to do this is on Google Docs. You can use Noodle Tools. I know many of you have been doing that. You can use Citation Machine, EasyBib, anything like that to help you cite your sources. And hopefully you did that with your research journal so you don't have to do it now. And then this is probably what we're going to see the most in your essays is an online article or a blog post, and this is the format for that. Now let's talk about in-text citations and just review the structure of those. So when we're thinking about in-text citations, we want to find the places where we are either directly quoting, paraphrasing, or summarizing. That's important. All three of those things we want to cite. Anytime we're doing that, we want to use an in-text citation. And we would include an in-text citation at the end of the sentence where you are quoting, paraphrasing, or summarizing. And we want to add the first word that is in the sources listing in your works cited page. So for some of you, that might be just the name of the article or the post. And for some of you, you might have found an author's name for that. So whichever one it is, you want to pull that in there. Then you also want to add the page number where the information appears in parentheses without quotation marks or a comma. So let's look at this here. This is from the book Wonder, and as you can see, I have my quotation marks here to mark where I'm directly citing from the essay, or sorry, from the book, and pulling it into my essay. But then I moved my punctuation from inside of the quotation here to the outside of the parentheses. In the parentheses goes the author's last name and the page number where I found that information. So you might be thinking, well, I'm not really citing a book, I'm citing an online source. That's totally fine. If you're citing an online source and you can't find a page number, you can just put the author's last name without the number here into the parentheses. So you don't have to put an author's number. You could also, a page number. You could also just put a 1 as well, but it's probably easier just to put the author's last name. So I would just stick with that if I were you. This is also going to be important when we are writing about any book. So when we read Fahrenheit 451, if you were to write an essay about Fahrenheit 451, you would cite Bradbury, that's his last name, the author's last name, and then you would pull the page number that you found the quote from as well. So this applies really in any way, shape, or form that we're writing an essay, whether it's about a book, a textual analysis of something, informational essay, argumentative essay, whatever. We do this same structure. Last but not least, let's talk about transitions. So in your essay, you're trying to convince your reader to change their mind about something, right? In order to side with you in your argument. And to make that outcome more likely, you're going to need to be sure that your essay is very clear so that your reader is never once confused or lost while they read. And one of the best ways to guide your reader through your writing is to use effective transitions, which are words and phrases that show the relationship between ideas. Transitions are, I'm going back to my original metaphor, but they're kind of like little signposts in your writing to help guide your reader along from point to point to point to point. So let's take a look at these two different versions of the same sample paragraph. The first one does not have any transitions. I think dogs make better pets than cats. Dogs are friendlier. They are more loyal. They are more protective. A strange man was walking in my neighborhood and my dog started to bark. The man left. Yeah, this is a very interesting paragraph here, right? Take a minute and consider what makes this sound kind of off. Now let's look at this example here. This is one that has transitions included in it as well. And I'll read this aloud to you. I think dogs make better pets than cats. Same topic sentence here. But then here we go. For one thing, dogs are friendlier. They are also more loyal. Lastly, they are more protective. For example, one time a strange man was walking in my neighborhood and my dog started to bark. As a result, the man left. I know this is a very basic example here, but as you can see, transitions from one idea to another are very important to make sure that our writing flows and that our reader can track where you are coming from as a writer.